Igor is the name of a new album by Tyler, the Creator. This dude is an individual. You see the posters. You see the posters. I love Tyler. I love this guy. I love him so much. I think he's a magnificent person. Did a lot for me when I was like 13, 14. Honestly, don't know who I would be without Tyler, the Creator. And I'm not actually the hugest fan of his music. You know, Flower Boy is the only album of his that I love. I think Wolf's okay. Bastard, Goblin, and Cherry Bomb are all awful to me. But that's just, you know, musical preference or whatnot. I just find him a very creative and inspiring person. Just his overall just messages of expression and individualism has just done a lot for me and all that. So I'm always excited and eager whenever he does, you know, release something. And this new album, Igor, is unlike any of his other albums in the way it's just presented. The sound of it is pretty similar, I guess, to Flower Boy and Cherry Bomb. You know, the sound palette it's roughly the same. Really soulful, jazzy chords, the really bright synths. The distortion and all that, it's all here, but it's just being delivered in a very different way. There's not really much rapping at all on this album. If you were going into this expecting a hip-hop album, then yeah, you might be a bit taken aback by how rarely Tyler actually raps a verse. It's mostly either just instrumental or Tyler's singing, or you have like another person singing, like Lil Uzi Vert, for example, is singing on the opening track, which I would never have guessed that. It does not sound anything like what I know Lil Uzi Vert to be, and there are plenty of names that pop up on this thing that you may not recognize. But the content of this album is also very different to any other Tyler, the Creator album. It's mostly fueled by love. Tyler is singing to a love interest for pretty much the entire album. And there is a pretty noticeable arc too as the album progresses. Like you have Earthquake, I think, Running Out of Time. All three of those songs he's really like incredibly just infatuated with someone. Then you have New Magic Wand where he's a lot more angry and frustrated. He's like saying, get the girl out the picture. He just really wants this person. On A Boy Is a Gun, the very next track, he's sort of acknowledging the danger in this person and saying, get away from me. And I'm still kind of trying to piece together who the love interest is. I think Igor is the love interest, but I'm not sure what Igor represents, I suppose. If it is just a relationship he's been in, or if it's maybe his fans or his audience or his critics. I'm not sure if he's just like making a grander metaphor. I'm still sort of figuring it out, but lyrically, I don't really find this album to be very moving or compelling in the traditional sense. You know, tracks like I Think, for example, the hook is like, I think we're falling in love. This time I think it's for real. Like, the lines are ultimately very, you know, pretty familiar lines about just love and being just unhealthily obsessed with someone you're in love with and all that. I don't really think Tyler's necessarily executing this album lyrically in any sort of profound way. There are times on this album where I find his singing a little bit grating, because I just don't think he's that good at singing, particularly the final track. I find the vocals on the final track really hard to stomach. And whilst I'm on the subject of things I don't really like too much, there are a few songs that feel a little just faceless that really stand out to me, like Puppet. I'm genuinely struggling to remember Puppet. Kanye West comes on the track, and I just don't think he fits at all on the song, and the instrumental is just one of the most boring to me. That like main synth line is just really basic and redundant. I'm quite conflicted on the song I Think as well. I find the drum groove on this track pretty bouncy and fun and propulsive and all that, but some of the vocal melodies just run me the wrong way, and Tyler's just kind of weird sort of quirky flow at the beginning, I just find it a little bit forced. Earthquake I wish I liked a little bit more than I did. I'm just not really that big on the chorus, I guess. I think the vocals just feel completely weightless, as does the instrumental. The Carti appearance though is a nice little change of pace. Playboy Carti just pops in with a really interesting little feature. The way he's using his voice on this track is a little bit different to what I'm used to with Playboy Carti, but I think it works quite well in the context of this song. So not every song is a total hit for me, but there are definitely some really notable standouts on this album. The opening track, Igor's Theme, I think is a fantastic way to kick off the album. The way it starts off with that really sort of creepy, just like really thick synth for like 20 seconds, just really sets the stage really well. When the drums come in and it all just kind of starts escalating and building, and the vocals join the mix. It's all just so nicely put together, really well mixed too, and the way this song just escalates and progresses and changes up as it goes along always just keeps me on the edge of my seat. It's a really great way to kick off the album. I actually really like Running Out of Time too. I think this track is kind of psychedelic and trippy. The way the synths just kind of swirl in and out in the second half I find really sort of dreamy and kaleidoscopic. I think the song New Magic Wand is one of the best Tyler, the Creator tracks, period. My favorite on the album, one of my favorite songs this year. This track is so fucking menacing. Like, again, he's talking about sort of just getting this person out the picture that's obstructing him from being with the person he loves, and you can just feel the sort of evil tone in his voice really, really potently, and the instrumental, the sort of like grimy bass line, the like kind of weird sort of robust snare on this track. It all just comes together to create a very vivid atmosphere in my head, and I love the final rap verse. His flow is so fucking devilish, and the distortion on his voice really adds to that urgency. What's good? Another big highlight for me. This track is showing Tyler rapping from the perspective of this Igor character, it seems. He's just kind of arguing with himself, like beating himself up. And there's a lot of really just kind of distressed insanity on this track, and the instrumental really nicely reflects that too. I love that part with the Dracula, 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 and he starts rapping and the beat just gets like grimier and more intense. It's just such a crazy track. And Gone Gone Thank You, I actually think has some of the best singing on the album, particularly on the Gone Gone part. I'm not sure if that is Tyler, so I don't think it sounds like Tyler when like the vocals really start like joining the mix. They're like, I love God, I love God. That part is actually really angelic in my opinion. Not sure who that is singing, but I do think it sounds really nice. Overall, I think this is a really good album. I think it's really solid. I don't think it's his best. I think Flower Boy is a bit above it because I just love the kind of personal, introspective, powerful pull of Flower Boy a little bit more. I find the writing on Flower Boy just really moving. Not that Tyler's like aiming to be super lyrical on Igor. I think Igor scratches an entirely different itch to Flower Boy, but I just find Flower Boy a little bit easier for me to get emotionally invested in because the writing is just so beautiful in that thing to me. So the edge goes to Flower Boy, but I still think this is really quality. So I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. I would definitely recommend giving it a try. What do you think of the album? Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments. If you love it, if you really don't like it. I think it's really good. And yeah, that's all I got to say. Thank you for watching my review. I'll see you on the next one.